Welcome to the Doctors on Social Media podcast.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Doctors on Social Media podcast. We call ourselves SoMeDocs for short. Here in this show, we bring you today's most interesting content and we dissect it together. SoMeDocs is looking to create unique buzz and excitement within the field of healthcare and to showcase the movers and shakers who are making a difference today. Our episodes are available in both visual recordings and audio format, so you can soak us up through whichever medium fits best. Don't forget to give us a shout out online or share what you love. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Social Dissections. Social Dissections is where we take a standout social media post and we dissect it together. And on this episode, we have with us Dr. Krystal, Revai, Sodiatis. And it took me a while to get to pronounce that correctly. And so I hope that I hit the mark there. Would you like to introduce yourself and, of course, say your name properly for us?
Yeah, thank you. So I am Krystal Revai Sodiatis. I am a board certified pediatrician. About 11 years ago, I transitioned to a non-clinical career in managed care. And then about 4 years ago, I certified as a life coach. And so currently I work as the Associate Chief Medical Officer for a health plan that is based out of my home state of Illinois. And I also coach neurodiverse physicians.
Okay, wonderful and wonderfully succinct. So I do appreciate that. And as we do on every episode of this show, we are now going to immediately turn to the post that started this all. The post that was identified by our team as share-worthy here on the show and dissectable. So let's move over to, in this case, LinkedIn. And Dr. Sodiatis agreed to read the post in her own voice. So here we go.
It's time to suck at something. Here's the thing about New Year's resolutions. Those resolutions often mean doing something we're not very skilled at. As a high-achieving smart physician, we're not super comfortable with sucking at something. For my docs who identify as neurodiverse, you may have been trained or programmed to actively avoid things you struggle with. In this blog post, I use my recent experience of sucking at bar to remind myself that it's okay to suck at something. In fact, it may be good to suck for a while. Read my struggle of resilience and finding growth in the struggle.
All right, thank you for reading that. And let's now unshare the screen. All right, so I'm going to read the official definition of sucking as used in the context of what you posted. And that definition is being very bad, disagreeable, or disgusting. You made it official by calling out 2024 as a time to suck at something. Some who are listening may have a hard time wrapping their heads around that concept, and yet it drew us in. So can you explain why you are asking us to suck?
Yeah, because as physicians, and I assume most people listening to this are physicians, we are not very comfortable at doing things that we're not very good at. But the truth is that we grow when we overcome hardships. By being resilient and continuing to work at something that we are not skilled at, that is where there is real growth.
Great answer. And we are going to continue down that post where you referred to neurodiverse. I am certain that there are people listening and even doctors that are listening that are just not familiar with this term. And I know from a SoMeDocs perspective, you use it a lot because you've written articles about neurodiversity and you have pitched lectures about neurodiversity. Can you tell all of us more about what this means?
Yeah, so The actual definition of neurodiversity, it basically means that all brains are on the spectrum of normal. We all have areas where we excel at and where we suck at, and that's all normal. What has come to mean in the modern day vernacular, generally it refers to people who have a neurodevelopmental or other learning, neurodevelopmental diagnosis or other learning difference. So somebody with ADHD, dyslexia, autism will often refer to themselves as neurodiverse.
But do you approach someone with, let's say, a diagnosis of ADHD versus a diagnosis with autism? Would you approach them in the same way because they fit under the same underlying generality of neurodiverse? Or do you apply sort of different subset of rules and guidelines in treating them or working with them because they have those specific diagnoses?
Yeah, so I don't treat them because when they come to me as a coach, I'm not their physician. So when I work together with someone who has either ADHD or autism, it is different, but even amongst people with the same diagnosis, people with ADHD, people with autism, they all have different areas where they have strengths and they have different areas where they have challenges. So whereas one person with ADHD might come to me because they're trying to get out of work on time and be more present with their children. Another person with ADHD might come to me because they have failed their boards and they're looking for some strategies in order to study some executive functioning strategies so that they can study and retain the information so that they can pass their boards.
That's great. Now, do you require them to have a diagnosis within the neurodiversity spectrum, or by saying that neurodiverse is kind of equating us all because we're all good in some things and bad in some things, they don't need a specific diagnosis?
For physicians, generally not. I mean, the truth is that, well, my opinion is that all physicians are likely intellectually gifted. You have to be cognitively gifted in order to be able to get through the rigors of medical education and training. Giftedness in and of itself is under that rubric of what we now consider neurodiverse. So in reality, any physician can come to me, and especially if they're having issues around being kind of an outlier intellectually, then I'm happy to help them and coach them, as well as other highly intelligent people. It's a little bit easier with physicians because I know that. The same thing with most lawyers are probably gifted because of the rigors that it takes to get through law school. That just makes it easy.
Okay, this is all very exciting. This is all also wonderful, of course, to hear that there are resources for the individuals that used to struggle so much and be so isolated in that really arduous journey to becoming a physician. And you and I both know this because we have both earned medical degrees. Now, back to that wonderful post. We had Grace Torres Hodges, DPM MBA, comment underneath, and I'm going to read her comment. This reminds me of a phrase that, quote, your greatest strength can also be your greatest weakness, quote. The ability to realize that we are all works in progress and that we are allowed to suck at things is critical to continuing our growth along life's journey. Now, would you agree with her assessment?
Oh, completely. Completely. As I said earlier, like there's so much growth in persevering at something that you suck at.
That's such an interesting concept for me, especially as we sort of dabble into the unknown as physicians. With SoMe docs, especially, all of us are trying to really reach out and learn new things, and, market ourselves and our thought leadership abilities. And a lot of docs are struggling in doing this. So that's interesting that you do believe in the growth of the growth that's involved there, even if we're not good at that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, do you believe that, by the way, your light went off? How interesting is that?
My computer screen behind me.
Oh, there you go. Okay. It helps because it looks better. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
For those listening on podcast, they don't really care. That's the beauty of the podcast. It's about the content and not about the visuals. But just for those listening, we are also a visual show. And so you could catch our series on doctorsonsocialmedia.com. All right. So do you believe that those of us who struggle make better success stories?
I think that the way I would put it is that the success is sweeter when you have overcome a struggle to get there. When you have persevered and continued through the hard parts, just like the SoMe docs can tell you, getting over so much around the marketing and the technology and, and all of it. When you find whatever that definition of success is for you, when you get there, it is so much sweeter.
So the follow-up to that is it easier to find success when you've experienced struggles?
I think in some ways, yes, because you're more likely to have reach goals and to have higher and higher goals when failure and sucking at something is not something you avoid. You cannot imagine how far you can go until you've gone beyond your current capabilities, struggled, and overcome them.
I really like that because it sort of brings up perspective, right? I mean, if you have experienced that perspective where you're not successful and even more that you're struggling, then when you do reach success, you really can, it's more of a stark contrast. When you already have been given things, and you reach success, sometimes it's, not that much different than when you were handed things. And so, that stark contrast really makes makes us feel that difference. If I may also, I think it's interesting that it's also sort of based on the way that we define success, right? Because I think that that some people just strive for much, much higher levels of reaching that success. Whereas if you really do kind of take it in baby steps, then you reach success quicker. And then you have like that next level of success to strive to next. So maybe you're kind of setting yourself up for more successes rather than just for failure. And you could still be struggling to get there, but you at least are celebrating those wins. Would you agree sort of with that assessment?
Yeah, completely. And I think also when you are willing to struggle, you're willing to continue on, and that struggle is part of success. A lot of people feel like success just means I decided to do something and I did it.
I like that so much. My husband and I constantly grapple with this with our own children because as a parent, you want to just reach out and make everything better all of the time. And, we're both intelligent beings that know that we shouldn't do that. And that sometimes it is about those failures that our children will learn from. And they can't always get what they want because that's real life. Like mom and dad are not always going to swoop in and fix things. You got to feel that down, that low of not having either been accepted into something or, feel that social low because otherwise, if they go out into the real world and are suddenly like hit on the head with the realities of society, and mom and dad aren't there to protect them, then that will be bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. It's hard as a parent.
it's very hard as a parent, absolutely. But hey, we learn too. That's a struggle.
True.
All right. What was the primary goal of your having shared this particular post on LinkedIn?
So the reason I wanted to share it was because it was such an eye-opening revelation for me. I wanted other people to experience it as well. I mean, I was really, I don't, reading the post, I hope I was able to convey that I was like ready to quit. I I was like, this is dumb. Like, this is hard. Why am I doing this? And until I kind of had that aha moment of like, this is hard because you suck at it. And so you need to just keep going. And in that moment, it was literally an aha moment. I was like, it's like, yeah, you suck. So keep going.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I do also, I'm sure that you'll agree with this, that sometimes in life, it's also okay to quit if we really do feel like we've gotten
Yeah,
to a point where
absolutely.
it's not serving us well, that struggle is not serving us well, then maybe at that point it's okay to quit.
Yes, absolutely. But that's when you're not quitting because it's hard. You're quitting because it doesn't serve you. Like putting this much, and most people would say, like, yeah, I could put a ton of effort into trying to make this a success, but I don't want to anymore. That's okay.
So, moving on to the next question, we have a student section that's coming soon. Now, how does neurodiversity integrate into the student perspective and experience?
Oh, it's huge because that age group is when many people are just really starting to struggle because of their diagnosis or disability. Again, medical students are generally cognitively very gifted. Their intelligence for many of them, their intelligence got them to where they are. And so they didn't really need to establish good study habits. They didn't need executive functioning to be able to organize their day so that they have enough time to eat and sleep and study. And so when they get to medical school and they're faced with a higher cognitive challenge that they've ever had before, as well as all the other challenges, that is when many often sort of the foundation starts to crumble. And I do encourage, and I get a lot of questions from parents of adolescent and young adult children. What's the difference now? Like, why should my child get diagnosed now? And I said, knowledge is power. And also, it will always, it will always qualify you for an accommodation, whether it's a testing accommodation or a workplace accommodation. So for students, if they're even thinking that, maybe I have some dyslexia or some OCD, I do encourage them to seek help. And for the rumors that it's going to impact their academics or, not let them match in the program they want or not get a job, that's completely false.
All right. Now, what is your favorite LinkedIn topic to see popping up on your feed?
Ooh, a curveball in there.
Now, we're always throwing curveballs in here.
Yeah. I love I love the posts that celebrate people's like success, right? Especially what like when they've overcome a lot of hardship, right? The people who talk about being the first college graduate in their family. Um, the people who, finally got the advanced degree that they wanted to get. So I really, really those are so heartwarming and I love those.
Okay, that's great. So we have come to the part of our episode of our show that's called the shout out wheel. All right. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So this is the directory, and then these are the filters. So your first step is to pick a specialty from all of the specialties here.
Oh, well, let's go with pediatrics.
Fabulous. Let's do pediatrics, and we've narrowed it down to 63 entries. Now, let's niche it down further by scrolling down and picking some of the other filters that you see there, either practice type or outside exam rooms or on social media.
Oh, let's go with outside exam rooms.
Perfect. And in outside exam rooms, you have lectures, writers, coaches, podcaster or YouTubers, speakers, course creators, community organizers.
Well, considering I'm focusing this year on speaking, let's go with speakers.
Fabulous. So let's now have you pick one last thing, either lecturer, writer, or on social media.
Lecture.
Okay, perfect. So someone who has delivered a lecture on SoMeDocs, that's what it means. And we will open that up. So the shout out of the shout out wheel actually goes to Dr. Allison Christie, MD, PhD, whose quote is, "Fostering diversity and inclusion through open access communication and understanding history." So we're going to tag her in the episode. And when we do share it across social media, we will tag Dr. Christie, and I'm sure that she will be thrilled about it. So awesome. Thank you for participating. Yeah. All right. So we have come to the end of the episode. Dr. Sodiatis, did I say that right?
Yep. That's good.
Dr. Sodiatis and I, we would love for you to do us a favor. If you've enjoyed this recording, go to social media, go to your emails, tell everyone that you have enjoyed it. Tell everybody what neurodiversity is and that you heard this great episode on SoMeDocs, and tell them to listen to. Thank you so much for being here, and bye to everybody.
Thank you.